The buzz coming out of Berea has reached a whole new level, and it's all centered around one name, Shedeur Sanders. What started as small whispers inside the Browns facility has exploded into a full-on storyline after reports claim Shedeur absolutely torched Cleveland's elite defense in a closed practice session leading up to the Raiders game. This wasn't just some routine workout or casual scrimmage. Insiders said Shedeur went at the starters like he had something to prove, lighting up coverages, threading impossible windows, and making veteran defenders look like they were reacting a step too slow. The energy inside that building shifted instantly. Coaches who were skeptical got quiet. Teammates who underestimated him started paying attention. And analysts who were ready to call him a long-term project suddenly started asking if the Browns had been hiding a star in plain sight. Shedeur's rise has been dramatic already, but this practice session took things to another level. Cleveland's defense isn't some bottom-tier unit. This is a group stacked with Pro Bowlers, All-Pro monsters, and veterans who've embarrassed top quarterbacks without breaking a sweat. Yet according to sources, Shedeur controlled the field that day. He wasn't playing safe. He wasn't checking down. He wasn't overwhelmed by pressure. Instead, he looked like someone who had spent years preparing for this exact moment. A quarterback stepping into the NFL spotlight, refusing to blink. Word spread so fast that by the time practice ended, players around the league were already texting each other clips and rumors about the breakout performance. But the most intriguing thing about this moment is the timing. It all happened right before his first NFL start against the Raiders, a game that was already loaded with pressure, expectations, and national attention. With the spotlight turning toward him, Shedeur needed something that proved he belonged.
He needed a moment to certify the hype surrounding him, and apparently that moment came against his own defense. A defense known for attacking aggressively, disguising coverages, and disrupting quarterbacks at every level. Instead of folding, Shedeur dismantled the schemes, forcing coaches to acknowledge what fans have been saying for months. The kid plays with poise beyond his age. This practice wasn't just about strong throws, it was about command. It was about recognizing blitzes, shifting protections, manipulating safeties with head fakes, and hitting receivers perfectly in stride. The defenders didn't take it easy either. Reports noted they were flying around, trying to rattle him. But Shedeur stayed calm, moved the offense with rhythm, and looked every bit like a quarterback ready to seize a job many thought he wouldn't touch until late in the season. And after that session, the conversation inside the franchise changed dramatically. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't being viewed as a developmental backup. He was being viewed as a threat, a real one. What made Shedeur's performance so stunning wasn't just how well he threw the ball. It was the fact that he outplayed defenders who normally wreck practice sessions. Cleveland's defense has a reputation for dominating scrimmages. Their front seven is relentless, their corners play tight, and their pressure packages overwhelm even experienced quarterbacks. But on that day, insiders said Shedeur walked in with a different mentality. Instead of playing cautious or avoiding risks, he attacked every rep like it was a 2-minute drill in a playoff game. When defenders collapsed the pocket, he slid, reset, and delivered darts without hesitation. When they disguised coverages pre-snap, he read them like a veteran who had seen the same playbook for years. What caught coaches off guard wasn't the talent, it was the confidence.
Wide receivers walked off the field shaking their heads, not because they were surprised Shedeur could sling it, but because the timing was sharper, the ball placement was cleaner, and the leadership was undeniable. He wasn't simply running plays, he was commanding them. Players described his cadence as sharper, his reads as quicker, and his rhythm as unstoppable. Some even said they hadn't seen a rookie look that comfortable against Cleveland's starters in years. This wasn't beginner's luck. It wasn't a soft practice. It was a statement, and that statement echoed throughout the franchise at a time when the quarterback conversation was already heated. Questions about the team's long-term direction were swirling. Debates on sports talk shows were intensifying. Analysts were questioning if Cleveland had the courage to make bold decisions. And then Shedeur walked into practice, demolished one of the best defenses in the league, and forced the conversation to shift. Coaches reportedly started whispering about giving him expanded reps. Veteran players started talking about his potential in the locker room. Even defensive players who pride themselves on shutting down every quarterback they face admitted Shedeur played like he'd been here for years. The Raiders matchup made the entire story even more explosive. This wasn't just practice, it was preparation for the real test, the moment where Shedeur would need to prove to the world what many inside the facility already believed. The Raiders had been scouting him heavily, preparing for both a poised rookie and the unpredictable pressure he could create. But what they weren't prepared for was the volcanic momentum building behind the scenes. Their defensive coordinator reportedly adjusted game plans after hearing how Shedeur treated Cleveland's starters during practice. The energy surrounding his debut became overwhelming, not because he was expected to survive his first NFL start, but because insiders suddenly believed he could dominate it, and that belief didn't come from hype. It came from the field, the reps, the execution, and the fact that Shedeur walked into an environment designed to break players and showed he wasn't going anywhere. By the next morning, Shedeur's practice performance wasn't just a rumor floating around social media. It was a full-blown internal conversation inside the Browns organization. Analysts, staffers, and even people in the building who weren't directly involved with the quarterback room were discussing how he completely controlled the scrimmage. A few players reportedly said it was the most impressive rookie practice they had ever seen. Others said it reminded them of the moments when legendary quarterbacks first revealed they had something special, the exact turning points that become franchise folklore. One source mentioned that during one red zone segment, Shedeur fired a no-look touchdown pass between two defenders, leaving everyone on the sideline stunned. Another claimed he beat the blitz multiple times with quick release throws that hit receivers before defenders even reached the pocket. These weren't highlight plays for the sake of being flashy. They were technically sound, fundamentally correct decisions, the kind that separate NFL quarterbacks from college standouts. The coaching staff, especially those involved with offensive development, took notice instantly. This wasn't the same rookie who arrived months ago still adjusting to NFL speed. This was a quarterback who spent weeks absorbing film, refining mechanics, improving footwork, and mastering situational decision-making. And the transformation wasn't subtle, it was obvious. Some staffers said this might have been the breakthrough moment that pushed him from promising young player to legitimate starting caliber quarterback. Even players on defense, competitors who normally avoid giving praise, especially to rookies, admitted Shedeur made them work harder than usual. Some said he caught them off guard with quick reads. Others said his accuracy was unreal for someone so early in their career. The compliments weren't exaggerated for social media attention. These were internal observations from athletes who know greatness when they see it. When elite defenders acknowledge talent, the message carries weight. Meanwhile, fans outside the organization began picking up on the shifts. Beat reporters noticed how coaches spoke differently when asked about Shedeur. Players were more complimentary than before. The energy around the quarterback room felt different. And all signs pointed toward one conclusion. The Browns were preparing to unleash him. The Raiders game added fuel to the hype. Las Vegas knew they weren't getting an unprepared rookie. They were getting a quarterback who had just diced up one of the NFL's strongest defensive groups. Their scouting department reportedly began adjusting defensive schemes and practicing alternate coverages, anticipating a more polished Shedeur than they originally expected. But what made the situation even more thrilling was the sense that this was only the beginning. The practice performance wasn't viewed as a peak, it was viewed as a preview, a glimpse into what the Browns could become once Shedeur fully stepped into the spotlight. As the Raiders matchup approached, the narrative around Shedeur shifted from rookie with potential to rookie ready to take over the league. Analysts on sports shows began acknowledging the practice whispers, even if they didn't have concrete details. Phrases like unbelievable session, dominant performance, and NFL ready right now started appearing in scouting conversations. In an era where everything gets exaggerated online, this storyline was unique. The praise wasn't coming from fans or influencers, it was coming from the people who witnessed it firsthand. The most compelling dynamic was the growing sense that the Browns' coaching staff could no longer ignore the momentum. When a rookie plays well, people notice. But when a rookie embarrasses a top-tier defense, leadership is forced to reconsider every plan, timeline, and rotation. It's not every day that a first-year quarterback elevates an entire offense during a closed practice. And from everything reported, Shedeur didn't just elevate it, he dominated it. Defensive leaders reportedly approached the coaches afterward, not to complain, but to acknowledge what they had just witnessed. Some said Shedeur's anticipation was too sharp for a rookie. Others said he was seeing the field like a veteran. A few even pointed out that he read their disguised coverages better than some established starters they had faced in real games. When defenders and coaches are on the same page about a quarterback's rise, the trajectory becomes undeniable. But the real turning point came when veteran offensive players began changing their tone. Typically, older players remain protective of rookies, offering neutral or supportive comments without going too far. This time, the language changed. Words like special, different, and ready started making their way into interviews and behind-the-scenes conversations. One insider claimed Shedeur took on a leadership role during drills, adjusting receiver routes mid-play and correcting timing issues without hesitation. That level of confidence doesn't belong to someone trying to earn a spot. It belongs to someone who believes he's leading a winning team. Meanwhile, the hype surrounding his upcoming start against the Raiders began trending across sports platforms. Fans wanted to know if the stories were exaggerated or if they were witnessing the early rise of the league's next superstar. The matchup became more than a game. It became a test of whether Shedeur's practice dominance would translate under bright lights and national attention. The Raiders' defense prepared aggressively, aware that Shedeur's playmaking ability could cause problems. But preparation can only do so much when a quarterback is in rhythm. And based on the reports, Shedeur had found a rhythm that wasn't slowing down anytime soon. This was more than hype. It was the beginning of a narrative that could define an entire season. By the time Shedeur stepped onto the field for final walkthroughs before the Raiders game, the atmosphere inside the Browns facility had completely changed. Coaches watched him closer, teammates trusted him more, analysts followed his every move, and the confidence radiating from him was unmistakable. In just a few weeks, he had gone from a rookie learning the ropes to a quarterback carrying the momentum of a rising star. That practice session where he dismantled Cleveland's elite defense wasn't a fluke. It was a preview of what he was capable of when locked in and unbothered. One coach reportedly said Shedeur carried himself like someone who knows he belongs here, and that presence, that composure, is something NFL teams spend years searching for. Some quarterbacks crumble under pressure, others survive it, but the special ones, they transform it into fuel. And that's exactly what Shedeur did heading into the Raiders matchup. The doubts, the questions, the debates, the comparisons, all of it became motivation. Fans were buzzing not just because of the hype, but because of what this moment represented. The Browns had witnessed countless quarterback experiments over the years, some promising, some disappointing, some forgettable. But Shedeur represented something different, a spark that had the potential to redefine the future of the franchise. Not because he could throw hard, thousands of athletes can do that, but because he demonstrated poise, leadership, accuracy, vision, and an understanding of the game that most rookies don't develop until years down the line. As kickoff approached, one thing became clear. Shedeur wasn't stepping into this game hoping to survive. He was stepping into it ready to change the narrative, ready to prove the practice reports weren't exaggerated, and ready to show the NFL that his journey was just beginning. Whether the Raiders were prepared or not didn't matter. Whether analysts believed in him or not didn't matter. What mattered was that Shedeur had seized his moment and forced his way into the spotlight by sheer performance. This wasn't the story of a rookie being gifted an opportunity. It was the story of a rookie taking one. If you enjoyed this full breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more in-depth coverage, game analysis, and real-time updates on the biggest stories shaking the football world.